Thank you to Charisma on Command. We've got Manosphere here and Legion of Men discussing how over the years men have been portrayed as weaker and weaker, and now the lead alpha men are simping when it comes to women all the time, and it's fantasy because a man who is the hero and aggressive and successful at everything that goes hand in hand on being successful for women. So this Hollywood portrayal of a man being weak when it comes to women, but successful at everything else, really is super rare. It's not how it really works in the real world.
Something bad is going on with young men. It's bad for them, and it's bad for the women around them.
I have been feeling and seeing how poorly young men are doing.
Why are men and boys struggling?
Why are men in such a crisis?
And what made me really see it is a bit silly, but stick with me here. It was the Amazon Prime show Reacher. Now,
And a little background on this actor for Reacher. I can't remember his name, but it has been politically charged with Trump becoming into power because even though he is a manly man, and you would think by the show he's a Republican, I guess he's a really left leaning, kind of extreme woke, California Hollywood type person. So there's been a lot of people calling for boycotting Reacher, not watching the show Reacher. If you like action shows, it is a good show. Except for what they're going to talk about here is truly bizarre.
if you haven't seen it, Reacher is a show based on the Lee Child novels of the same name. They're action-packed male fantasy fulfillment. And in them, we follow Reacher, the impossibly jacked wanderer who miraculously doesn't go to the gym and eats whatever he wants.
How do you eat like that and still look like you do?
Like this.
He kills bad guys, saves the day, and beds a new woman most every book. This is nothing new in the male fantasy fulfillment genre, except there is something that's weirdly new. In the show, Reacher, who is the most assertive, dominant action hero you could ever imagine in your wildest dreams, never initiates anything sexual.
Anna, wash your mouth, boss, you're catching flies.
He's entirely passive with his female leads. We barely even see him look at the leading lady, who inevitably has to make the first, second, and third move before throwing herself at him. Now, this was not the case in the books from the early 2000s. It's an amendment from the 2020 show.
Do it just becomes like a fantasy of this guy who every guy wants to be. You want to get the girl in every town you visit, and Jack Reacher fulfills that fantasy.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And just so you know that I'm not exaggerating here, in season 1, after asking him to dance and hanging out in a hotel room with him in her underwear, Roscoe literally has to walk in on Reacher showering to make something happen between them. And she, of course, leans in for the kiss in case he didn't pick up on her intention. In season 2, Dixon indirectly asks Reacher out at work.
Will you buy me a drink?
I gotta keep working on these reports. Maybe next time.
Then she directly asks him why he didn't do anything about it.
Is that why? Back in the day, you and I never happened. I mean, come on, Richard. It's not like I didn't drop any hints.
Then she has him play doctor with a wound on her breast. And when he doesn't lean in, then she finally throws herself at him.
You don't have to be lonely tonight.
Wow. Dude, the subtle level of cucking in this stuff is crazy. I didn't even know it was this minute. I thought this kind of style of stuff, like super macho man, save the day, 80s, 90s action hero stuff was still safe. Kind of speechless. Wow.
As the relationship continues, she makes every overt move.
Shot at by hitmen and almost blown up. To put it mildly. I've got some pent-up tension.
Season 3 is
Wow.
the same exact dance until Duffy finally just leans in and jumps Reacher.
Can still make sure she stays safe. I know it's important to you, so I want to make sure.
Later,
What the
Reacher
hell?
bashfully compliments her, but of course can barely hold eye contact.
If he cheated on you, he's an idiot.
And in the middle of tactical planning for a coming shootout, she completely jumps Reacher's bones.
You really want to make me feel better? I got an idea.
Now, I'm not saying that we should go back to the cart
Bro, that's so weird. Look at how they make him do this stuff. Like, watch.
You really want to make me feel better?
And in the middle of the tactical plan,
He's an idiot.
Look. So he's like the nice guy simp. He's an idiot. If that guy didn't like you, he's an if he cheated. Look at this. What is this? What is this, dude? Beta characteristics. They're putting them in all the like classically masculine action heroes. What? This is what I didn't know it goes this deep. So imagine you're a little boy, you're growing up and you're seeing like you're modeling yourself of what you're seeing, especially when you're in a single parent household raised by a mother. Wow, this ties in so much with it. You know, for example, women will say like men never approach women anymore. You know, all the screaming they did never approach us and all that. They're literally subverting young men's minds with this shit. This is social engineering. You're seeing it happen right now. So now we have the youngest generation of men, our boys coming up, now model themselves off this dude. Never ever make the first move. A woman has to choose you first.
and in the middle of the
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying that we should go back to the cardboard cutout female characters with zero agency. The male fantasy genre 50 years ago had its own issues.
Man talk.
What I'm saying is that if Reacher is the updated male fantasy, we need to ask ourselves, what does this fantasy of sexual passivity tell us about young men today? Think about that. Because before I give you my answer, I want to tell you about the male fantasies of my bygone era, the 2000s, and what they told us about my generation. You see, when I was a teen,
Stifler.
there was one movie that mirrored the dream of so many young men and their hopes about women. The Girl Next Door. My God, did this movie hook me.
I personally kind of find it a perfect film, in my opinion, at least.
It's the teen fantasy that lit up the early 2000s. The Girl Next Door became an instant cult favorite.
In it, Maddie, who is played by Emile Hirsch, has a stunningly beautiful girl move in next door to him. And when she does, his entire life is turned upside down by her impact on him.
Finding that one thing you really care about. That one special thing that means more
I
to you
remember
than
that movie.
anything else in the world.
Now, the fantasy, which is specific to the 2000s, is that she sees something in him without him doing anything stereotypically attractive. Maddie gets the girl of his dreams just by being his nerdy, previously unnoticed self. She literally appears next door and just likes him. This was, of course, my fantasy and the wish of many mathletes across the world.
I'm all wet. Can I come in?
But even though Maddie is smaller and nerdier and way less capable, there's one thing he has that Reacher doesn't. He is undeniably attracted to Danielle. His desire for her cannot be hidden or suppressed. And his victory is in acting on that desire despite not being the stereotypical hot guy. In the Act 1 climax, which is such an iconic scene that I wish I could just play it outright, Maddie's at a party, and the jock has just slid up on his girl. Maddie is out.
Man, what's up? You come here for a second? Yeah. Oh, no, that's cool. They're pals.
Danielle is now with the jock because, come on, look at that guy. And just as Maddie's about to leave in defeat, something shifts. Maddie acts on his desire, and we get one of the defining shots of my teenage life. Maddie wins because he goes for it. He doesn't do a million push-ups or beat anyone up. He just goes for it. This is the inverse of Reacher, who is super high agency in every action scene.
But
You
women.
boys know what's about to happen to you. You leave now. So I'll give you to the count of 3. 1.
But totally passive around women.
Good thing I'm doing the asking. Come on.
Now, of course, this is a teen movie and Reacher's action-based, so maybe it's an unfair comparison. So let's look at an action film from the same 2000s era, Casino Royale.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Dude, even the latest Bond, like they have him, you know, they had those still pictures of him when they had, I don't know who they cast. It was some black woman that was working inside the agency also. And there was a famous photo of like Bond back in the day, and they were on a scooter or a motorcycle or some shit. And it was like Bond riding it with a girl in back. And then it like flashed forward to this last Bond with him, and the girl was driving him. So subtle how they do this kind of shit. But it's when you put it all together like this, it's so subversive, man. The social engineering is crazy. This is nuts. You got a guy like Jack Reacher. I don't watch the series, don't care for it, but I didn't know even the action movies of today have been so effeminized. Like, what?
We have the same impossibly capable lead who...
Dude, everyone's getting emasculated. That shit is crazy.
Who kills bad guys and gets the girl.
Doesn't bother you killing those people?
I wouldn't be very good at my job if it did.
But
and then even before that, with the black woman that's working in the agency too, they took his script of James Bond, and he fell in love with this chick and ended up getting burned. She betrays him. I remember that in Casino Royale, the next movie over. So then that's how he turns like cold. But like, you took James Bond, like notorious womanizer, doing everything for the crown, including sleeping with and manipulating women, now has a love interest. Like, that already went into a really emasculated version of what hyper masculine James Bond was supposed to be. What?
I wouldn't be very good at my job if it did.
But in 2006, he of course still wants her. Bond's desire for Vesper is immediate, and he's anything but passive in communicating.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
So, as far as I can remember, in the 2000s, male desire for women still existed in that stereotypical male fantasy genre. Victory came from risking rejection to act on that desire.
That one special thing that means more to you than anything else in the world.
I don't know if it's a coincidence, but the whole Spider-Man franchise, Tobey Maguire has got to be, I don't know, one of the most simpy, beta, weak, effeminate men ever. It was just so miscast for Spider-Man, just totally ridiculous. I know they're trying to get that boy angle, but yeah, not. And the subsequent Spider-Man, I don't think any of the Spider-Men have been very, very well cast, to be honest.
And when you find her, you fight for her. You risk it all.
And a capable man could handle rejection without forcing the issue or getting overly flustered. And this is what worries me about Reacher. Desire for women. And if it were gay, it doesn't matter. It's desire for sex, for intimacy, for
Oh, God, you had to go. You had to go there, dude. You had to go there. You see, even in critiques like this, they cannot stop. There it is. There it was, right in your face. You had to throw it in there. Who else are they
It's all
talking
gone.
about?
Sure, Reacher is a participant, but he's not an active initiator. And by the way, I see the same thing in a lighter form in 2019's Witcher.
They say witches can't feel human emotion. What do you believe in?
Geralt acknowledges his attraction to Yennefer, but it's her initiating at every stage.
But you can't contend with me. Sorry I couldn't be direct. I knew you'd fight it.
Based on just one show, and I'm reading too much into it. But consider how broader media habits have shifted since the 2000s. It had its serious issues, but TV required you to feel what you wanted. You had to tune in at a particular time to watch your show. You had to select the YouTube video based on a title that said, "This." I had never spoken to a young man who planned to spend his 20s on his business and his money and his health while ignoring dating completely.
As a man, you need to, before you get into any relationship, build your frame as a man. Build your internal kingdom.
Staying single put you ahead of everyone. Everyone. Just think about it. Just go fucking monk mode, everything, like as long as it takes to get to the top.
And that's now something that I've heard repeatedly. And I don't think that's the purely rational monk mode move that it's sometimes framed as. I think it's the result of being raised in a world where feeling your own desires, particularly the sexual and romantic ones, was more dangerous than ever. And in part, that's because rejection in the social media era is so much more public. And perhaps it's in part because the Me Too had a chilling effect, not just on the men that we wanted it to, but also on the young guys who weren't quite sure where the line between healthy romantic initiation and cancellation-worthy boundary.
Yeah, harassment. That's why you had the Mike Pence rule. Can't be alone in a room with a woman. Always have somebody with you. Take the elevator by yourself. Never be there with a woman. Because you could get accused of everything and anything, and your life will be ruined invariably. Listen, women kind of brought forth this era with the latest wave of feminism, and all men are blah, 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 and toxic masculinity, and men are predators and inherently evil, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so women have a heavy hand in this happening.
And part of that hardly anyone talks about is women friend groups trauma bond, and they're always trying to one up each other on who has the worst relationship, the worst marriage, the worst job, the worst situation. So they're always trying to categorize everything into some sort of negative category.
But the subversion in media to this level, even in action movies at this level, like, dude, I grew up on Terminator. I grew up on Command. The initial scenes in Predator is probably my all-time favorite movie because it's just cheesy but ultra masculine, super macho, sexual tyrannosaurus and pussy jokes in the helicopter, saying like, I yelled at my wife in the what was the joke he made? He said told a joke to his wife when he was eating her pussy. That's literally what he's saying. And he said that he heard the joke back twice. That was the joke. That's how the movie starts. Can you imagine a movie? And then what they did, subsequent movies of the Predator franchise are like, oh my God, bro. The latest Predator movie I remember was some woke DEI garbage of some like Native American chick that's like fucking 14 years old battling predators and shit. We went from Arnold to that shit. I knew it was bad, but I thought they would at least keep the stereotype, because it's a stereotype, the stereotypical like super soldier.
And this is why Hollywood is losing so much money. Look at the Deadpool Wolverine movie, which was like the biggest hit for Marvel and Disney the last whatever 5 years. And I would say the majority, half of men, don't even like to watch that type of movie. But there's no one is filling that void of men and boys and the movies they want to watch because everything is so wishy-washy woke garbage.
James Bond type action roles, traditionally masculine, but even they got emasculated. Like, you got to do that. Reacher's fighting 6 fucking other dudes in prison, but he's too afraid to be active in making a move on a girl. Oh my God, man. Yeah. I'm now understanding why men are asking me the questions they're asking in these consults, in the emails, in the private community, why the conversations are steered in certain directions, which is way worse than I ever imagined. I knew certain things. Yeah, I knew like the mainstream, like, Modern Family, TV shows like that, the latest woke DI slop on Netflix. Okay, cool. But I didn't know that when you were making things specifically tuned to action roles, action heroes, that even there, the woke slop was being inserted subtly to such a point. Like, they've basically made him into a fucking cuck. Women command sex? Really? Women are pursuing men? Really? Especially ultra masculine dudes. Like, where the fuck in the real world do you get a type A ultra masculine shredded as fuck dude that's a massive pussy and cannot say or approach a woman in any way whatsoever? It's like, that guy cheated on you. He's such a dick. Looks away like a little pussy. Like, what did he just say? Something really evil? Oh, I've said my feelings out loud, and you're queen. You're too fucking golden for this guy. You are such a blessing. He just beat up 8 fucking guys in a prison with a fucking shiv and shit. They're all trying to kill him, but this fucking 100-pound chick, he's such a dick for cheating on you. Looks away. Like, what the fuck weird feminist like fantasy is that shit? The subjugation of men. That's just fucking wild.
Anyway, you guys get the picture, but I really hope we need like Tarantino or someone to just come out with a movie that is old school and funny and not PC, and just we almost need to go overboard and get back. I mean, I think that's kind of what The Boys is, but that has its own problems, to put it lightly. But The Boys is definitely trying to fill that void of action movies and things being not bloody, not gory, and then it's the total opposite where it's just constant gore and over the top. But anyway, what do you guys think?